Like they're raiding the fridge at midnight. Oh, hopefully nobody sees me grabbing that slice of cake out of the refrigerator and they can just gobble it up as fast as they can. Like, if you're going to eat the damn cake, take your time and savor it, enjoy every bite, and you get more time under taste that way, and you can actually get more eating satisfaction with less food if you savor it and enjoy it versus just shovel it down and pretend it didn't happen.
Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast with Lee Hayward and Jeff Samataro. Since 1997, Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding has been online helping guys to build muscle, lose fat, and become the best version of themselves. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with real-world practical fitness and nutrition advice to look your best, improve your health, and feel confident in your own skin, so you can live life to the fullest without having your body holding you back from doing the things you want to do. So if you're ready to get started, let's jump into the show.
Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. Lee Hayward here, joined with Jeff Samataro. How's it going, Jeff? How's life treating you?
It's going great, Lee. Yes, happy to be here on another episode of the Lee Hayward Get Your Ass in Gear podcast.
Oh, I'm glad to have you joining in again. Like, our schedules don't always align, but it's always nice to have a chat with you and do a podcast with you when we do link up. And a couple cool things that I want to address that's coming up for this week is we're doing another Lose Your Gut Challenge. So that's going to be kicking off on Saturday, September 28th is when it officially goes live, the Lose Your Gut Challenge. And I want to kind of explain what the Lose Your Gut Challenge is, how it works, and also get into some nutrition strategies that people can use to help optimize fitness and fat loss and muscle gain without feeling like they're on a diet. I posted up a link on my website. If you go to leehayward.com, you can check it out. There's all the details of the Lose Your Gut Challenge, what it is, how it works. But bottom line, it's a 5-day virtual coaching program. And I know you've gone through the challenges. You've helped out with the challenges as the assistant coach within there as well. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea behind this is it's laying the foundation for a sustainable fitness and fat loss transformation. And basically, it is like the first phase of the Muscle After 40 Blueprint coaching program, where we're laying that foundation. And the first phase is what we refer to as the metabolic reboot. And this is like setting that foundation so that you're building the habits and the lifestyle and all that you need in order to further your fitness and fat loss transformation later on down the road. So you're laying a solid foundation before we start getting into the nitty-gritty details of the final phases of the program, Fat Loss Accelerator, or for those who are already at an ideal body fat, and you want to focus on filling up your frame with lean mass with the lean mass body recomp phase. And one of the things I want to discuss with you, Jeff, is your experiences going through that. And we can probably even discuss some different nutrition strategies, because I know when you went through the whole program, you got very creative, put together a compilation of your favorite recipes, which we shared with some of our coaching students. Been very popular. A lot of people really enjoyed them. So we can certainly talk about that. We can talk about some of my recipes that I put together and ones that I've botched. They were good enough for me, but I know when you tried to share them with your friends and family, they didn't go over that well.
There were some instances there, yeah, where I got some ridicule for that, for sure.
What was it? There was one, I called it my...
that was your apple pie recipe.
Apple pie. And you took apple slices and put like sugar, stevia and cinnamon on it, and it was like an apple pie treat, but I just called it, it's like an apple pie snack or whatever I called it at the time. But it's a nice little snack. I mean, something that I was really enjoying. So I shared it, and I know you shared it. Just tell that story.
Yeah, my parents, they have this lake house in New Hampshire, and I went up for the weekend, and my uncle was there, and my wife, and my parents, and my brother, and his wife. And I told them the whole day, I was like, don't worry about it, guys. I got dessert tonight. I'm going to be making some apple pie. And everybody was like, oh, apple pie. I love apple pie. Oh, what a treat, apple pie. Then I went in and I just cut up a bunch of apple slices. I put the stevia on. I think there was cinnamon. And then I think that was it. And then I just like mixed them up in a big bowl. That was it. And then I came out with it. And then I came out with the tray and everything. I was like, we have to go. We got us some apple pie. and they're all sitting around the fire and everything, and they start eating it, and they're just like, Jeff, if you took all of the ingredients of an apple pie and you didn't actually make it into a pie, but you just handed us the ingredients one by one, that is not apple pie. And my uncle was just leaning into me so hard and everything. And at this point, my wife, she had been putting up with all the diet recipes now. So she was just hysterically laughing. Then she's learned now throughout the years, like if I'm like, oh, I'm making ice cream tonight, she knows it's not ice cream. If I'm making apple pie, it's not apple pie. If I'm making cheesecake, it's not cheesecake. So yeah, that was a good one, and they told me I'm never allowed to make dessert again because it was just such a buzzkill. Can you imagine though, like all day expecting apple pie and then being brought out apple
Apple
slices?
slices with cinnamon.
Right.
Now, with that being said, I actually enjoy apple slices with cinnamon. It's a nice way to, I mean, I found it a very nice treat versus just eating an apple. It adds some extra flavor. And from a dieting perspective, see, and this is something we should break down here, is that when you're having a diet recipe, it's not going to be as good as the real thing. And we can kind of use other examples. Like if you buy a protein bar versus your favorite candy bar, yes, the candy bar is probably going to taste better. But the protein bars, especially if you get a good one in terms of nutritional value, that is, it's probably not going to taste as good, but it's going to be good enough, right? It can kind of give you that candy bar taste and texture to a degree, but it's not going to be quite as good. Same with the ice cream. Like if you make up a blender smoothie, like if you make up some of these Ninja creamy ice creams, or you make up some blender ice creams on your own, they're still can be tasty, but is it as good as high quality, expensive ice cream? No.
No, I've been making high protein smoothies now for a long time with just like unsweetened vanilla almond milk.
Yep.
And my wife, she loves whole milk, so she's been having cereal in the morning with whole milk. And we ran out of almond milk, and I was just like, fine, I'll just use the whole milk. And I tried it, and I was like, oh my God, this is so much better. It's like it's not even comparable.
Yeah.
It's like you get into this rabbit hole of like getting non-fat everything and zero sugar this and
Mhm.
lean this, that like when you go back and you actually have like the fatty, like sugary options, you're like, oh my God, this is like night and day.
It is.
But it depends. It's like, how bad do you want it?
That's the kicker. See, like back in the old days of dieting and bodybuilding and stuff like that, before we had all these low fat and sugar free and healthier options, people had to go on a very strict diet. It was literally like the boiled chicken and broccoli diet. I've heard of all kinds of crazy extreme diets over the years. Like when I was competing, like sometimes people would brag about like how strict their diet was. Like I know guys used to do the fish and water diet. Like literally go 12 weeks eating nothing but fish and water. Like
Like, shoot me
like
now.
that is torture. I mean, and some people used to even go like more extreme, like okay, not just fish and water, but it had to be tuna and water. So just canned tuna and water, like for 12 weeks. Like that was the only thing that you consumed.
Yeah, it's
And some,
impossible.
some people will consume all kinds of these crazy extreme diets. And don't get me wrong, like if you have the willpower to suffer it through some of these extreme diets, yes, it can work from a fat loss point of view.
Hmm.
But how do you feel when you're going through that? Like, I mean, even I could tell by the reaction on your face. Like when I said fish and water, if you were just to sit down to a meal tonight and like Kayla came out and said, Jeff, guess what we're having for dinner? We're having plain white fish and water.
Yeah,
Not deep fried or nothing like that. I'm talking like just like baked or pan fried or boiled or whatever. I mean, but just the leanest way you could possibly make that fish.
yeah.
And then water was your drink of choice because you didn't want to have any calories there. I mean, even for a single meal, that doesn't sound appetizing. But can you imagine going for the next 12 weeks?
No.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, fish and water.
It would
No,
have been a very short experiment had that been the case.
right? But it just goes to show the determination and the grit and the willpower that some of these guys had to suffer that out. But everybody has their limit of willpower. And when it comes to bodybuilding, it's kind of a unique sport in a way, because, first off, anybody who competes in bodybuilding, they're a different breed of person just to to do that. Like you have to have an abnormal level of willpower and discipline to put yourself through the competition rigors of training and diet and everything else. But even then, when somebody goes through that, they have their finish line in mind. And for me, like I could suffer through like a 12-week diet or 16-week diet or whatever it was, because I knew, okay, after the contest is over, I'm going back to my old habits. I had it all mapped out. That was part of the diet. Like, where's the ice cream shop? Where's the bakery? Where's the all you can eat buffet? Where's the pizza place? Right? All the stuff. Like, I'm getting my Cool Ranch Doritos. Right? I'm getting my everything
Oh,
planned.
Cool Ranch. Cool Ranch is the way. Yeah.
Right? Everything was right. I had it all planned out. Like I would be lying awake at night dreaming of all the junk food that I was going to be eating after the
Mhm.
contest. And of course, after the contest, I would start binge eating and all that. And the crazy thing is, it took months of dieting to lose the fat, only a few weeks of falling off the rails to gain it all back. And then I'd be back to square one, fatter than ever, and then trying to justify it by telling everybody, well, I'm bulking up now because it's the off season. That's what I did for 15 years as a competitive bodybuilder. Like I did 15 shows, and for every one of those shows, it was up and down, up and down. That yo-yo diet, suffer it out with the extreme, like boiled chicken and broccoli. That's pretty much as extreme as I went. Now I did some phases where I went like did a keto contest cutting diet. Didn't really like that too much. I felt better when I had some protein and veggies in there. So for me, chicken and broccoli was kind of like my foundation.
Mhm.
But I was flexible. Like some days I might have turkey instead of chicken, or I might have
You wild man, you.
or some different types of steamed vegetables instead of just broccoli. But again, it was just like a protein and a vegetable, a protein and a vegetable for 12 weeks or 16 weeks leading up to the show. I mean, hey, it worked. I would get in contest shape, but as soon as that contest was over, I'm binge eating,
But
right?
at what cost, Lee? At what cost? Your sanity.
Yes, and that's the truth too. Like when I was on those crazy diets, like my brain was just mush. I remember when I was in college, I competed in a bodybuilding show, and I that was the first time I really did an extreme cutting diet, and that was the worst semester that I did in college was when I was on that diet because I couldn't. Brain was just mush, like that low carb brain fog.
Mhm.
So we want to find ways that are sustainable, right? That's what I'm getting at here. Like the extreme approach does work, absolutely. Like when you hear people say, hey, I'm on a keto diet, I'm on a carnivore diet, I'm on a insert crazy diet of choice, anything that's extreme, sure, it can work if you follow it, if you have the willpower and the grit and the discipline to stick it out. But everybody has their limit of how much torture they can take. And
Yeah.
then once you hit that threshold, you're going to go off the diet, binge eat, and regain the weight back again. And that's the reality for like virtually everybody. It's very rare that that's not the case.
Mhm.
So we want to find a way to make it sustainable. And that's what the Lose Your Gut Challenge is all about. Is like, how can we bridge the gap where it's good enough, but enjoyable, right? Good enough and good enough consistently, but still enjoy your life in the process. And that's where some of these healthy options that we mentioned, like, the healthier ice cream options or the healthier protein options, things like that can bridge the gap. Is it as good as the real thing? No, but it's good enough. You still enjoy it without feeling like you're on a fish and water diet.
Right. If you have like a habit or you're on a routine of like eating sweets every single night before bed,
Yeah.
simple swap of like swapping out whatever it is that you're eating with like one of these healthier options here and doing that like 6 nights a week. And then on the seventh night, you have whatever that you were eating before. I mean, imagine the progress you'd make just by cutting back that's the idea. It's not that you can't ever have the real thing ever again. It's just so that way, if you're in a routine with having sweets or something, you can still maintain that routine and get that same sense of a similar type of sense, I should say, of fulfillment from it, but while still moving forward towards your goals.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about. It's just being better than you were before. It's not to have this extreme approach. And I was actually having a coaching call with one of our newer members in the Muscle After 40 Blueprint. Eric came on board and he was asking, like, well, how do we go about cheat meals? And I explained how I go about cheat meals and how I'd recommend him to incorporate them. First off, we want to reframe cheat meals. I don't like the term cheat meal because it has this the good or the bad mentality. I like to use a free choice meal. You're going to eat because you enjoy the taste of the food, not necessarily eating for the nutritional value. It's not necessarily good or bad or cheating. You're not breaking rules here because, like, when you put rules around your diet, that makes it very restrictive and that makes it unsustainable. But if there are, it's not black and white, but there's a lot of shades of gray. And it's like, okay, we're trying to be more on the healthier side, more of the better choice options, and fewer of the not so healthy, not so good options. But it's not on or off, good or bad. There's a spectrum in there. So we try to make better choices more often. The low fat dairy products instead of the full fat dairy products. I mean, that's a better choice option, right? Is it taste as good? No, but it's a better choice, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But another thing, I mean, as far as cheat meals, I don't like to put restrictions on them and saying like you're never allowed to have this. Because if I just said like you're never allowed to have ice cream ever again, because you're on a diet, that's it, no ice cream. Then just the fact that I said you're not allowed to have ice cream, automatically you went, I want ice cream. Because you're not allowed to have it, you want it even more. Just the fact that it's scarcity, that scarcity mindset. If I'm not allowed to have it, I want it more. Whereas if I said, you know what, you can have ice cream if you want, like it's no big deal. It's like, oh, it makes you want it less when you know that it's available. So that's
Right.
one of the things that I do is I don't put these strict rules on it. But then when I do have a not so good choice, like let's just say I'm going to have some ice cream, I try and be very selective about it. And one is the frequency of it and the portion. So, prime example, like this past summer, we went out for ice cream a few times. And when we go to the ice cream shop, I'd get a kid size ice cream. The people serving me, they would always double check. Like, really? I said, yes, I want a kid size ice cream because they're so used to everybody like, hey, I got to get the large or the big jumbo size ice cream. I said, no, I want the kitty size one. But still, even the kitty size one is fairly big these days. And that was enough ice cream for me to kind of like, okay, I satisfied my ice cream craving with a small portion. I'm good.
Yeah.
More is just more of the same. Like if you have one scoop of ice cream or you have a two scoop or a triple scoop, it's just more of the same. Like it doesn't get better the more scoops they put on the cone.
Right.
So that single serving ice cream, their single scoop ice cream, is just as tasty as if there's two or three scoops on there. You can enjoy it. Like just take your time, savor it. That's another thing. When you are having a free choice meal, don't rush through it. Because some people almost feel guilty when they're eating that stuff and like, I just want to get it in. Hopefully nobody sees me eating this. Like they're raiding the fridge at midnight. you know, oh, hopefully nobody sees me grabbing that slice of cake out of the refrigerator and they can just gobble it up as fast as they can. Like if you're going to eat the damn cake, take your time and savor it, enjoy every bite, and you get more time under taste that way. And you can actually get more eating satisfaction with less food if you savor it and enjoy it versus just shovel it down and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because your body doesn't lie. You might trick other people and nobody's seen you eat it, but it's going to show in your body. You can't
Yeah.
trick
Nobody ever sees you eat it. Did you really eat it?
right? But enjoy it, slow down and savor it. And that's one thing that I do. And I don't put any limits on it. So if I am craving something, I will satisfy that craving with a small serving of whatever it is so that I can get that craving satisfied, forget about it, and move on, and then get back on track for my very next meal and not dwell on it. Because one thing I've seen and I've experienced myself is when I start to dwell on it, I'm not allowed to have that ice cream, not allowed to have that ice cream. And I keep saying that. I might go 2 or 3 weeks in a row, but that ice cream cravings like is in the back of my mind and is building and is building and is building. And then in a moment of weakness, a low blood sugar, brain foggy, stressed state, I'm going to say screw it, and I'm going to end up getting a gallon of ice cream. Keep eating until I'm scraping the bottom of the bucket.
Yeah. But I like what you said about like it being on like a spectrum
Mm-hmm.
of like good or bad, because like that's how I see having cheat meals too. Like I used to think like you can only have a cheat meal like once a week kind of thing. And if you didn't have it, or if you had it more than once a week, then you're going to lose all your progress and everything. And now it's just like I see it as like a spectrum where it's like, you just kind of like tune in with your body and how you're feeling and how you're looking. And if you notice that like you're starting to teeter more towards like this end of it, then you can kind of pull back a little bit and try to go back this way. But there are times where life gets chaotic and you're not in a position to like do like cooking at home all the time or something like that, or your situation, you're traveling, or I don't know, whatever it is, right? Where like you're not going to be able to just have a cheat meal once a week. Maybe you're in airports all the time, or maybe you're in roads all the time, or maybe you're on a work trip or something like that, or maybe you're networking with people like other professionals, and like you don't want to be the one guy who's sitting there eating salad while everybody else ordered a pizza. There's moments like that happen, and like you got to be cool with it and you got to go with it. And then when the moments come where you can tighten up, right, then you tighten up so that way you don't go back into the other direction, and just keep tabs on it. Like I know you've mentioned in the past, like 200 pounds is your threshold weight there, where if you notice you're getting above that, then you start to tighten up a little bit. I think having checks and balances like that is a good thing to have. But just like, focus on building the habits, right? Like we've always talked about, and then just pay attention to that spectrum, like, and pay attention to that gray area that's there. And just notice if you're leaning more towards the area where you don't want to be, then just tighten up ship and don't worry about like the frequency of it so much.
I'm glad you brought that up because I came from the old school mindset of the once a week cheat day. That really became popular in Bill Phillips's Body for Life book. In this book, he recommends you diet 6 days a week, and then 1 day a week you have your cheat. You eat whatever you want, and that there's a lot of gray area there. Like, don't get me wrong, some people follow that approach and made it work, but a lot of people follow that approach and self-sabotage because you can do a lot of damage in a cheat day, depending on how bad you go. In the initial phases, it wasn't so bad, but once I got further into the diet, I would bend the rules for those cheat days. Saturday was my cheat day, and I would plan it out. Once I got into the routine, I said, well, okay, Saturday's cheat day. Saturday technically starts 12:01 Saturday morning / Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
So I would order a pizza and have, if it was ice cream or chocolate bars or potato chips or whatever I wanted, like I would have all that ready. And then I would be up Friday night waiting, looking at the clock. And as soon as 12:01 clicked over on the clock, I said, okay, technically it's Saturday. It's cheat day. I would have this big midnight binge of pizza and ice cream and chips and whatever, and then go to bed, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning with a belly gorged full of junk food, and then wake up on Saturday morning, midday, whenever I wake up, right after my food coma the night before, and then, okay, well, we're going to go out for a breakfast brunch or something like that. So it's going to be pancakes and eggs and sausages and hash browns and the whole shebang. If I wanted hamburgers or French fries or whatever, whatever I wanted, I would eat anything and everything. Just eat right up until 11:59 Saturday night. So I had my full 24-hour cheat day.
Yeah.
And what I found is, okay, yeah, I dieted super strict and I was in a calorie deficit for 6 days out of the week, but that cheat day was canceling out my calorie deficit because, I mean, I never counted the calories, but I'm sure there was days where it was probably like 7,000 calories of junk.
Yeah.
And that can easily cancel out a calorie deficit. Like if you had a 500 calorie deficit 6 days a week, and then you just ate a 3,000 surplus in your cheat day, well, there you go. Right?
Yeah.
You canceled out a whole week of dieting. And I was wondering, like, why am I not making progress here? And that's why.
Can I coach you for a second?
Yes, please.
So when I hear that, right, what tells me is that you're being way too strict during the week. I mean, if your portions are super small and you're eating super bland food 6 days a week, and then all of a sudden you come like all that buildup just keeps building and building and building and building, and then you get to that cheat day and you're just like, all right, here we go. Gloves are coming off, and then it's just a whole day of indulgence. It's like you would have been better off just doing small bits of indulgence throughout the entire week. Like I was working with this guy, he had a big addiction to ice cream, like we were talking about. And his whole thing is like when the weekends would come, he would be on the couch Friday night, Saturday night, and he would just get like a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream and he would go through it like the entire pint in one sitting. And so what I told him to do is I went to the supermarket and I found these like Greek yogurt bars that they have in the frozen section, and they're 100 calories a piece. Now, is it a super healthy thing that you should probably eat all of the time? No. But at the same time, it's 100 calories a piece, and that's probably a better alternative than destroying an entire pint of ice cream twice a week on Friday and Saturday night. So I told him, I said, hey, have one of these a night if you're craving it. And if you're not craving it, then don't have one. Don't just have it at a routine. And it was working for him for a long time. Like, and then he got over eating the pint. But then all of a sudden, he got back to me and he was like, hey man, so like I was doing really well with it. He's like, but I just haven't lost any weight. I'm like, are you still eating those Greek yogurt bars? And he's like, yeah, I'm having like 3 or 4 a night. So it's like, well, you kind of went off the plan there, the schedule plan. Maybe go back to having one.
But that is so often what happens. Like people say, I'm eating healthy, I'm doing all the right things, but then when you actually like look under the hood and do a deep dive, okay, you're eating healthy, but you're eating 4 times the amount of what you suggested. I mean, like you suggested,
Right.
have a Greek yogurt ice cream bar, not 3 or 4.
Yeah.
That's very often the case, because I see the same thing when we're working with people within the program. Like whenever someone reaches out and says, "Hey, I'm not losing weight, I'm not doing this," and I say, "Okay, well, let's break out, your food log and just see how things are going." But it's very obvious, like when you look at the food log afterwards, right? Because
Mhm.
numbers don't lie, right?
Yeah.
You see these blips on the radar. Okay, they're saying, okay, this was where the damage was done.
Like everybody knows, right? It's calories in versus calories out. And I mean, you could eat massive amounts of calories on anything, like even health food.
Sure.
But the thing is, right, is like with a Greek yogurt bar or something like that, it's easy to go back and have like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of them or whatever like that. But like when you're eating real food, like whole unprocessed foods, you're not going to sit there and overeat them, right? Like, I mean, nobody sits down and eats 5 chicken breasts, or nobody sits down and eats like, I mean, how much salad would you have to eat to overeat a salad? Like a truckload? I don't know. Like nobody's going to sit there and eat a truckload of salad in one sitting. So like that's the idea, is like it's harder to overeat the like real food than it is to overeat foods that are in packaging. Anything that like where you like dip your hand into a bag and pull it out and eat it, like you can overeat that. Like nuts, for instance, is a perfect example, right? Like I love nuts. I love like cashews and pistachios and walnuts and pecans. Like I love it. And especially when they're salted, like, oh my God, I could sit there and just destroy them. But like, I know that I have a tendency to overeat them. And that's just the tendency of that type of food, because they typically sell them in bulk like that. So, I mean, now I just buy these like small 100-calorie, like little cashew packages. So that way they're already kind of portioned out, so that you're not just like dipping your hand into this giant bowl of them. That's what I would say, right? Stay away from those types of things. Anything you dip your hand into a bag and pull it out, it's like that's the tendency, right? It's to get you to eat more and more and more and more and more, and that's how you end up overeating.
It's a slippery slope for sure. And even though like we could argue nuts are healthy, I mean, depending on the type of nut and everything else, I mean, sure, like if you get almonds or walnuts or something like that, I mean, sure, it is healthy, but you can eat too much and they're so easy to eat. And when I'm pushing for more aggressive fat loss, that's one of my trigger foods, and I will not have it. I just choose not to eat it. Same with peanut butter. Like I love peanut butter. So if I'm on an aggressive fat loss phase, like let's say I hit my threshold and I say, okay, I gotta buckle things down. I gotta drop 5 to 10 pounds or something like that. I'm just saying, okay, I'm not buying nuts. I'm not buying peanut butter. Like for the next several weeks or however long, I'm like, I'm just not going to have that there. I'm not going to put that in my environment so that I'm triggered by it.
Yeah.
It's so easy to overeat. And I know one of the guys in our group that we were working with, Reggie. I want to share this because he loves cashews, and he used to always go to Costco and buy these big jumbo bags of cashews that they had. And when we were looking at his food log and stuff, because he was saying, I'm just not losing weight. He said, like, I'm exercising, I'm doing my cardio, I'm doing my weight training, I'm eating healthy and all that, but it's just not seeing the weight loss. And I said, okay, well, let's look under the hood here. Let's do a deep dive. And we started breaking down the meals. I said, okay, the meals are pretty good. I mean, of course, there was some room for improvement, but they were pretty good. One thing that came out in just a slip of the tongue during conversation, he said, "But I'll have a handful of cashews every now and then." And I said, "Okay, well, what do you mean by every now and then?" "Oh, like 2 or 3 times a day, I'll go grab a handful of cashews." And it's like, do you realize like a handful of cashews is easy 100 or more calories, depending on what your definition of a handful is,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you're if you're doing that 3 times a day, like you're easy getting 300 or more extra calories just
Yeah.
from those cashews. And like, is that really adding a lot of eating satisfaction, or is that just mindless snacking between meals? And that's what it ended up being, just mindless snacking. And I remember then we had a follow up coaching call a few weeks later, and I said, "So how are things going?" He said, "Oh, it's great." He said, I've been losing weight now over the last few weeks." And I said, "What happened?" "Well, like, what was different?" He says, "I ran out of cashews."
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And he didn't buy more. So that was the whole thing. Like, he didn't change his meals, he didn't change his workout. He just stopped that mindless snacking between meals, which
Yeah.
was still a healthy food, but it's just too much, right? It
Yeah.
really
And peanut butter is the same thing. It's like you're like, oh yeah. I mean, because you're like, oh, I'm just gonna have a spoonful of peanut butter, and then you go in and you dip it out, and it's like a mountain of peanut butter, like this high on the spoon, and you're like, yeah, that's one spoonful, and yeah.
it's brutal. I mean, because when they're measuring the nutrition facts, it's for a level tablespoonful. And
Mhm.
very often the spoon that you have in your drawer that you're probably scooping with could very often be bigger than the tablespoon,
Yeah.
measuring spoon that is. And then you're not factoring in the heap because it's never level.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
how it's heaping, right?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
mountain of that thing.
Oh, I mean, I love peanut butter too, for sure. But that's it's dangerous because you get zero eating satisfaction out of peanut butter. It's like you get that initial like dopamine hit right when it hits your tongue, and then it's gone like the second it hits your tongue, essentially. Yeah, so I got to stay away from that kind of stuff. That stuff's dangerous, man.
Yeah,
I just keep it out of the house.
for sure. I mean, if,
Mhm.
if I'm on an aggressive fat loss program again, that is something that's not in the house. But I will sometimes get the powder peanut butter, the
That's a
PB.
good alternative. Yep.
It's not as good as the real peanut butter. I mean, like, let's just put that out there right off the bat. It's not as good, but if you really enjoy peanut butter, like, I don't know, you like having peanut butter on a banana. Like, that's one thing I actually do like. I like putting peanut butter on a banana or peanut butter on celery sticks or something
Mhm.
like that. I mean, I really enjoy it, but I'll use the PB2. And to make it a little better, one of the things, I'll put some stevia in it and some sea salt. So it has a sweet and salty taste to it. So it's almost like the store bought peanut butters that do have sugar and salt in it. So I mean, it gives it a bit more flavor, because if you're just using the plain powdered peanut butter, it,
Mhm.
it's very bland. It's like blah,
Yeah.
right? So the
I'll,
sweet and salty helps it a little bit, but even then, it's not as good as the regular full fat peanut butter, right?
Right, right. I'll mix it with unsweetened vanilla almond milk too.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's all about like the consistency of it. Like if you put in like just enough, like a cap. So I take like the cap of the milk and I
Right.
pour in the cap and just do that until you get the right consistency. And then Kayla, she makes these baked oats that are really, really good. And what I'll do is I'll take the powdered peanut butter, make it into peanut butter, and then put it on top of the baked oats. And that's really good too.
So like these are good enough alternatives that can bridge the gap, but one thing you'll find too is you're not going to overeat powdered peanut butter. Like, it's not the same desire to just keep going like it is with the regular peanut butter. Again, it's better than nothing. It's better than not having it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it's easier to control yourself because it doesn't trigger your taste buds to just keep wanting more.
Right.
And another option I find similar to that is like if I'm craving like a movie night snack, I usually make air popped popcorn,
Yep.
and I'll have that. And I'll usually like have a sparkling water with it. So that's my movie night snack. I get a sparkling water, air pop popcorn, and that doesn't trigger me to keep wanting to eat like potato chips would, or the buttery movie popcorn, if you will, like, which you just want to keep eating. The air popped, sure, it tastes plain, but it still gives me I'm still snacking on something, so I enjoy that. But I don't have the desire to just endlessly eat. Whereas when I have that bag of Cool Ranch Doritos, I got to finish those off, regardless how big the bag is. If it's a single serving bag
Doesn't
or a
matter.
family size bag,
Yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah.
my hand has to hit the bottom of that bag at some point,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I don't
Right.
have that same desire with popcorn, air popcorn, that is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I like that. I like the Orville Redenbacher Smart Pop. That's a staple in our home. I really like that one. I like the kettle corn one a lot.
That kind of bridges the gap between the air popped and the movie one because it does have a bit more flavor. It is a bit more palatable and enjoyable to have the Orville, but
Yeah.
I just stick to the air popper. One, it's cheaper because you can buy a big old bag of kernels for like next to nothing.
Yeah.
So it's,
Mm-hmm.
serving size wise and money wise, it works out like pennies per bowl. So
Yeah.
it's good that way. But again, because it's not as tasty, it naturally controls me from overeating. Right. So I
Yeah.
find that's helpful. And but it still gives me the sensation of having a snack, right? Which is what I want, right? I mean, there's just something about watching a movie and munching on something. It's just
Oh yeah. Who
right.
doesn't like doing that?
You gotta
Absolutely.
have a snack, but you got to choose a better alternative, right? Make it better than it was before. Another one that we should talk about is this is a low hanging fruit for sure. Regular soda versus diet soda. Were you ever a regular soda drinker, or were you always a diet soda drinker?
I mean, growing up when I was like a kid or like a teenager and stuff, I used to love like Code Red Mountain Dew and Sprite and a lot of other stuff like that. I mean, again, it's like the sugar thing. It was really easy for me to stop drinking soda. Like it didn't really bother me too much. Truthfully, alcohol was way harder for me to stop drinking than soda was.
For me, I've pretty much always had diet soda because my parents bought diet soda. They didn't really get into the regular sugary one, so I think that had a help for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a lot of people love the regular soda, and again, they say, well, the diet doesn't taste quite as good. And okay, I get it, especially if you're used to drinking the regular. Sure, the diet's not going to be as good, but when you look at the pros and cons, like, can you enjoy a slightly less taste for a heck of a lot better nutritional value? Regular soda is just pure empty calories.
Liquid calories in general,
Yeah.
like it's cutting out liquid calories could be such a massive game changer
Hmm.
for anybody. Like take notice of anything that you're drinking that has calories in it and see if there's a way that you can substitute it out with something that doesn't. And like if water is the obvious one, but like some people they complain about water. They're like, "Oh, water's too bland and I don't like water." Well, then get the Mio drops. Get some kind of droplet or something like that to flavor it up, or get a seltzer water or something so you have some carbonation in there, or add Mio to seltzer water so you get kind of a soda-y kind of taste, or even stevia soda. Like they sell stevia soda now, which is a better option. So you still get that sweetness, that carbonation that you want, but like find a solution. That's the thing, because it's just such an easy thing that you could swap out that could make such a massive difference
Hmm.
um, with losing weight if that's your goal.
I did that recently with our son Harvey because he loved the Kool Aid drinks, like just because he gets all the different Kool Aid jammers or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted some cherry flavored Kool Aid, and I was at the store looking at him. I said, like, these are all loaded with sugar, but then they had these little Kool Aid drops, which were sugar free. And I
Perfect.
actually bought a bottle of it. And of course, when he came home from the grocery store, he went rummaging through the bags looking for his Kool Aid. He said, "Where's the Kool Aid?" And I said, "I got you something different. I got Kool Aid drops." And he was all upset at first, but then I said, "You know what? You mix this up on your own." So he actually likes the fact that he can mix it. He almost feels like, "Oh, I'm making something," right? So he,
Yeah, right. I'm going to the lab.
yeah, like he's in the lab. That's right. So he mixes it up and adds a little bit. No, that's not enough. And add a little bit more until he gets it just right. So it's a bit of entertainment to the drink now versus just jabbing a straw in the drink box and chugging it down.
Yeah, you've made a
So
game out of it, which is
yeah, it
perfect.
was a game out of it, but he enjoys it, and that's his drink now. I mean, it's sugar free option. So just think of all the sugar that he's not getting from that, and it's just a drink. Like there's no eating satisfaction. It's just pure empty calories.
Right.
So if
Hmm.
you can swap out, the sugar-free Gatorade or the sugar-free Kool-Aid or sugar-free soda or whatever,
Yeah.
then it's going to go a long way. I've literally seen people who've gone through the Lose Your Gut challenge. I remember the very first Lose Your Gut challenge I ran. There was one guy said he was addicted to soda pop, and he was drinking like multiple sodas a day. I mean, I don't know, but it was a lot. And I said, you know what? Just make the swap to diet. I know it's not going to taste as good or whatever, but just do it anyway. Like it's better than giving up the soda cold turkey entirely, but
Right.
just regular to diet. He did it, and within the first month, he lost 10 pounds, and that was the only change he made. Like he didn't change his workouts, he didn't change his diet, he just changed his soda to sugar free, and he
Perfect.
lost 10 pounds just
Hmm.
like that in the first month.
It's just such an obvious one, and it's just such an easy one.
Yeah, it's so easy. Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
yes, it's that mental block. I think that's the biggest thing. It's the mental block to overcome.
But at the same time, like those kinds of things right there, like those are the kinds of things that are going to propel you more into making more progress over time. Like making progress is addicting. And when you start a routine, and let's say you're not losing any weight and you're feeling really frustrated and everything, and then all of a sudden you make a simple swap like that and you lose a quick 10 pounds, then you're like, oh man, okay, cool. Now I want to keep losing more. What else can I tighten up? And then it just keeps snowballing and spiraling. And then that's how you make the big progress.
Absolutely. And one big one, I mean, you already touched on it, the alcohol consumption. You said you struggled with that. I mean, you
Hmm.
like I know one of the strategies I recommended was non-alcoholic beer. Like that's one of my go-tos.
Yeah.
And nowadays, non-alcoholic beer has come a long way. Like I remember when they first came out, they were not very good.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, like if you poured it up in a frosty mug, like you could probably fool somebody and they not know that they're drinking a non-alcoholic beer because they taste pretty
Mhm.
darn good.
Yeah, let me tell you, the other day I went to a bar in Highland Park and they had non-alcoholic Guinness, which I had never had before,
Mm.
and it tasted just like a Guinness, like just like a regular Guinness. I mean, it really has come a long way, and especially if you're going to be going out all the time, or
Mhm.
like your network, maybe that's like your lifestyle or something, or it's part of your job or whatever. You're networking with people. That's a really simple swap to make too, and you can actually go out more often doing that because you won't wake up the next day feeling absolutely destroyed. So
Mhm.
you still get that sensation of like going out and having a nightlife and socializing and doing all that, and you can still wake up in the morning and be able to hit a workout. Hmm.
Yeah, that's the big thing because we all know, like, if you go out drinking and your next day is a write-off,
I
right?
mean, the older you get, the week could be a write-off.
I haven't drank in so long, but I'm sure it certainly could be. I know when I was younger and drinking, it was the next day was the write-off. But yeah,
Yeah.
if I partook in in drinking, I'm sure it could be a full week or multiple days anyway.
Oh, it just kills every ambition that you set forth
Mhm.
for yourself like the day before. And sometimes you have the best intentions too. You're like, all right, I'm gonna go out tonight and have a couple cocktails, but it's okay because tomorrow I'm gonna hit the gym. And then the morning comes and you're like, oh, that's the last thing I'm gonna do is go hit the gym. And then you start to like reason with yourself and everything, and you're like, it wouldn't be a good workout anyway. I don't have the strength, it'd be a waste of time and everything. And it's like, and then you
Uh,
go get that greasy breakfast sandwich.
yeah, because it just spirals. Like if I'm making one bad choice, I'm skipping the gym. Well, I better just follow it up with a greasy breakfast sandwich, and then follow
Yeah,
it up with four choices all day long.
all right. And then you
It's
have
a
a Bloody
momentum.
Mary for lunch because you're like, oh, I need the hair of the dog, and yeah, just
It's a momentum, right? You positive momentum or negative momentum. And we want to keep it moving forward.
yeah, for sure. Hmm.
That must have been challenging for you because I mean, like you in as a musician in the nightclub scene on a regular basis, that had to be a big challenge for sure.
It was a big challenge because I think when people get into like a routine, like when you're younger and you're like 18 to 21, drinking is like the new thing to do. So when you're young like that, it's like everybody that you know is doing it. And that's like the thing. It's like we're young and stupid and going to parties and this is fun and everything. And then that's how you make friends when you're young and impressionable. So when you get a little bit older and you get into like your mid 20s and stuff like that, it's like you keep that routine. You keep that pattern of behavior of like, this is how I socialize. I go out and I drink with people. And there's people who never break out of that, and it's like they get into their 30s and their 40s and their 50s and their 60s, and they're still going out and getting blackout drunk all the time. It's like a social thing. So that was the hardest part for me. It's not necessarily the alcohol. It's not like I missed drinking alcohol, like I
Mhm.
crave alcohol or something like that. But it was just like the socializing and going out on Fridays. Like I'd get calls from friends and being like, "Hey, we're going out tonight. You going to, we're going to go to whatever and have a couple beers. Do you want to meet up?" It was hard for me to be like, no, I'm the fitness guy now. Like I don't go and do that kind of thing because I don't do this professionally. Like, I mean, I do it because I love the benefits of being in shape and how it impacts all the other aspects of my life. But like, I'm not trying to be like a competitive bodybuilder or something like that. So I don't need to be like super, super overly strict with like diet and alcohol. Like I can still have alcohol every now and then and still keep moving forward. But then like I started to experiment with, what if I don't have any alcohol, but I still want to go out and socialize? Like, can I just go to a place and just have like a non-alcoholic beer or a seltzer water with lime and just hang out with people who are drinking and like still have a good time? And like lo and behold, I could. So in that sense, it's like, well, why am I consuming this? It's first of all, it's expensive. If you're drinking all of the time, like that's a massive expense. And we all know people who say like, "Oh, I don't have the money to start a fitness program or I don't have the money to do this or that," but then they have money to go out and drink every Friday and Saturday night, right? It's like, okay, well, where you spend your money is where you are putting your priorities. So if your priority is going out and drinking every Friday and Saturday night, then okay, that's where you're going to spend your money. But you have to sacrifice something on the other end of that. Because if you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to another.
Yeah.
So in my case, I just realized that like, okay, I want to keep going out and socializing and stuff, but there's still a lot of other things that I want to accomplish in my fitness life and then also in my musical life and my career and everything like that. So like, where's the balance there? Where can I find balance where I can still make improvements on all the things I want to do, but at the same time still go out and socialize?
Mhm.
And I think I found that balance over the years, and I'm more and more okay with not drinking. Now, granted, every now and then I will have a drink. Like I don't ever, I haven't sworn it off completely. Like I like going out and having an old fashioned, uh, or having like a vodka soda or something like that. But like I can go out now and have like one or two, and maybe do that like once or twice a week or something like that, and then call it quits. Like it's like what you were talking about with ice cream. It's like you have a little bit, and then after a while, it's just kind of more of the same. Like
Mhm.
alcohol is like that too. It's like you have one or two drinks, you got a good little buzz going on, and you're feeling loose and relaxed, and you can have goofy conversations with people and feel like you're not have like your mind or your anxiety like holding you back or whatever. But then the more you drink past that, you just end up becoming a sloppy, stupid mess. And then you're not enjoying yourself, or maybe you are enjoying yourself, but like you think you're coming off a certain way, but you're not. And then you wake up in the morning feeling like garbage. So it's the balance. It's the spectrum, right? Like we were just talking about, right? You don't ever need to not drink, like because then that means that you're just so far on the other side of the spectrum. It's black or white. You're in black, right? It's like there's all this gray area where like you can have some, right? But if it starts to get out of control and you're skipping workouts and you feel like crap all the time and your diet's going to crap and everything, then you need to pull it back a little bit. Maybe I don't have 6 beers, maybe I have 3. Maybe I
Mhm.
don't drink 6 nights a week, maybe I drink 2. Maybe find the balance, right, that works for you. And if you don't do this competitively or anything like that, and you're just doing it for general health and fitness, like you don't need to never not drink again.
I like that perspective, and I think it's really an individual thing. Like, I personally have chose not to drink, and just the same as I've chose not to smoke, and I don't desire it. Like, I have zero desire for alcohol at this stage of the game. Like, I haven't drank alcohol since 2011. And the
Mm.
reason I know that is because I was getting ready for a bodybuilding show in 2011. And part of my pre contest bodybuilding prep was to stop drinking alcohol 6 months out. And after that contest was over, I went to the after party and I said, you know what? I really don't feel like having a drink. Like normally I would. That would be part of the after party celebration after the contest. You know, you're going to eat, you're going to drink, you're going to do all the stuff that you're not supposed to do, right?
Hmm.
And I just said afterwards, I said, I really don't want to. I was just drinking bottled water. And I said, that's good. I really don't want it. I mean, but I didn't plan on not drinking ever again. But I just said, I went 6 months without a drink. I don't want one. I'm not craving one. And I just kept going day after day after day. And here it is going on 20 or 13 years later. And I don't want one, right? I just do not want to drink. So if that's a choice, like that's totally cool. And realize you don't have to be pressured into it. Because I was one of these people who would drink because you were expected to. Like you go somewhere and people say, "Hey, come on, have a drink, have a dinner, have a something." Like I never bought it to bring it into the house, but I'd always drink when I went out somewhere or if somebody offered
Hmm.
it. I just took it to be polite. And I realized I don't have to take that drink to be polite. Like
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't I just say no. And I found like when I was younger, some of the younger people like, "Oh, you pussy, what are you not drinking, whatever." But as I've gotten older, and then when I say like I don't drink, and then people realize, oh, he's serious, he really doesn't drink. They
Hmm.
actually respect it. They admire it even more. Like it's not
Right.
like you're a pussy. Like, wow, okay, wow.
Hmm.
They obviously it's more you get more respect the older you get versus when you're younger. You're like, oh, you goody two shoes. Don't drink, don't smoke, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like just take notice of people who drink really heavy and just ask yourself, like, are they better off for it? Like,
You
truthfully, I don't know anybody who drinks like real heavy who it's a positive thing in their life where it makes them a more healthy person or more productive person or anything. And especially the older you get too, like people turn into absolute train wrecks if they're drinking like that really super heavy. And we all know people like that, right? Like substance abuse is a very real thing in this world.
huge. Yep.
And yeah, it's huge. And we know people where like it literally controls their life. So I mean just take count of that. Like it's like you're playing here with fire. So if it's controlling your life, if it's destroying your life, if it's keeping you from accomplishing the things you want to do, then you need to make a change, right? You need to either seek help or something, but make the change because your life will absolutely be better off for it. And if you can go without drinking like you do, Lee, then like all the power to you. Like
Mhm.
if that's not a problem and you have no craving for it at all whatsoever, then keep going with that because that's awesome. That's great that you don't feel any pressure to do it, you know? I do it like more or less. And like when I say I do it, like I really don't. Like what like again, one or two drinks like every I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks or something like that, maybe like that. But like it's always like on for like some kind of special occasion, right? Like Kayla just got a new job. So like
Mhm.
we wanted to go out and celebrate and she got a glass of wine and I got a drink, right? One drink. Or something like that, or like Christmas Eve or something like that. Like we're all toasting and everybody's like doing a sip of whiskey or something like that. And like that's like something like that. But like you're not going to see me at the pub on Friday night at the bar, slamming back beer after beer after beer after beer. Like it's not worth it for me. It doesn't do anything for me. And I've seen what it does to people who where it becomes a habit and a routine. So I try to be smarter than that.
I mean, this is a powerful topic for sure. We've seen lives destroyed from alcohol abuse, and everybody knows of people, but quite often people who are very close to you, like friends, family, neighbors. We know the effects of alcohol abuse. I mean, it's very rampant. Like you have to look at the bigger picture, and from a fitness point of view. Like a lot of people think, well, as long as I'm keeping in a calorie deficit, I can make it work. When alcohol is in your system, it puts the brakes on fat burning. Like nothing gets metabolized when there's alcohol in your system until that alcohol gets broken down and metabolized first. Like it is a toxin. And once you drink, your body has to deal with that first. So if you're eating, the food you're eating is not getting digested properly, it's getting put into storage mode. The body fat on your body, like you're not burning body fat until that alcohol is metabolized and out of your system. So like when you drink, you put the brakes on fat burning and you basically put the brakes on your metabolism till that alcohol is broken down to zero blood alcohol, and then you can start resuming calorie burning as normal again. So it's
Mm.
a a lot of people think, well, as long as I justify the calories in and out, I can make it work. But it's placing a lot more stress on it. Not to mention, it's lowering testosterone, it's raising estrogen, like all these things that we don't want. Right? There's so many negatives to it, and even the World Health Organization's come out and finally admitted, like, there is no safe amount of alcohol. Because for years, like, it was always said, well, moderate drinking is good for you. Even doctors used to say, oh, a couple glasses of red wine, it's good for you. Like, a few drinks are good for you. And it was correlation, not causation, because they look at, say, like the Mediterranean lifestyle, and they say, well, hey, those people, they tended to drink red wine. But then you look at the lifestyle that they lived, which, okay, included some red wine, but it was all the other things that was leading to the healthy lifestyle, like the activity, being outside and eating fruits and vegetables and like
Mm-hmm.
all these other things. And then they also enjoyed a glass of red wine along with it.
Right.
It wasn't like, if you didn't do all the other things and just drank the red wine, you would not get the benefits of a Mediterranean lifestyle.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a causation, not a correlate, or yeah, a correlation, not a causation. So
Mm-hmm.
people think, well, it's the red wine is a healthy thing. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
finally came out that there is no safe amount of alcohol. But with that being said, like, do you have to cut it off cold turkey? If it's part of your culture and your lifestyle and everything else, and something you enjoy doing, like you mentioned, celebrating with friends and family and stuff like that, you can make it work, but realize it's not helping, right? And you're aware of that. It's not helping, but you got to find that balance, that line, as you mentioned. Where is it for you? Because that's something, like all fitness and nutrition, we have to realize it's not just about making the optimal progress. It's about enjoying life to the fullest. Like,
Absolutely.
right? We don't want to just be the boiled chicken and broccolis and 6 days a week in the gym and just, blinders on, you know,
Mm-hmm.
train, sleep, repeat. Like,
Yeah.
sounds cool and makes for a good Facebook meme or a t-shirt logo, but like, nobody wants to live like that.
No. Nobody wants to live with somebody who is like that.
And nobody wants to live with something like that. Yeah. Right. Like, life is meant to be enjoyed. So you have to find
Mhm.
that balance of where are you enjoying it and still making it work. And
Exactly.
that's the tricky part, right? Because
Yep.
with this whole thing, like workouts and nutrition and lifestyle, I mean, everyone thinks, well, if I just knew the right workout split and I just knew the right calories and macros, well, I'd have it all figured out. Like, no, that's easy. That, like, I can go on Google and best workout split. There's one. Best diet plan, best calories, best macros. There, I get a sample eating plan. But like, okay, do you want to spend 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, eating boiled chicken and broccoli, and just do that day in, day out?
No, obviously not.
Never eat at a restaurant again, never have a drink again, never, never have
Right.
any semblance of pleasure in your life again.
Right. Exactly. For what? Right. For
Right.
what? So you can look in the mirror and be like, yeah.
Right. I'm the best looking miserable person I know.
Yeah. 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 But the beauty of it, man, is that, you don't have to be in that super extreme thing to have the body you've always wanted and to have a lot of energy and to reap the benefits of being in shape and being fit. And like, that's the beauty of it, man. And that's the thing that you taught me a long time ago that I'm super grateful for, because like, I'm super happy. Like, I feel like I found a really good balance between all of the things that I've ever wanted to do. I feel like I'm really happy with the way I look, and I don't feel like I'm suffering at all. It's great. And I used to think that I had to do it like that. Like, I had to be in this kind of fitness bubble where I never talked to anybody or went out or did anything or ate anything like that. But you don't need to be. And the more you can get over that by practicing, the better off you're going to be, the longer you're going to be able to sustain being in shape and having the body that you've always wanted. You're trying to develop a body for life, right? You're not just trying to just get the results, and then you don't want to keep being the person you were like when you were out of shape and have the body that you want. It doesn't work like that, right? It's like you want to focus on changing who you are to get the body that you've always wanted. And then when you have the body you've always wanted, you've changed who you are to get there. So now it's easy to keep going down that path because it's who you are now.
It is a big shift, and it's more of a mental shift, realizing that it just has to be good enough and good enough
Mhm.
consistently, not this all or nothing. And I mean, I keep saying that because this is really the secret. Because for years, I always assumed it had to be, all in, no pain, no gain, suffer it out, and embrace the suck,
Yeah.
or it was like, okay, I'm going to just eat whatever the hell I want. But you don't have to be that extreme. It just has to be good enough. And the way I look at it too is like you could be 80 to 90% on track and still achieve remarkable progress and enjoy the process. Like
Hmm.
there's a difference between, like, let's just say we're between 80 to 90%, we're consistent with our workouts, we're consistent with our eating, consistent with our sleep habits and everything else, and just living, the ideal lifestyle 80 to 90% of the time. And then you have that little 10-20% leeway where, hey, we can go out to a restaurant. We can, if we want to go out and have a drink with friends or go on vacation or whatever, we have a little bit of that leeway, but then we're going to get right back on track afterwards. That releases the pressure versus if I said you had to be 100% strict.
Hmm.
No cheats, no restaurants, no deviation, no skipped workouts, no, like, 100% versus even 90%. Like
Yeah.
the level of discipline that it requires to be 100% on versus 90% on, it's a lot, because that little bit of a break, hey, I'm 9 out of 10 of my meals are good, but 10% of the time I enjoy myself. That just releases all that tension, and then you can reset yourself and, I'll just breathe a little bit and then get back on track again.
Yeah. And life happens. Sometimes it's 50%, 50%, 50%. Sometimes it's 70%, 30%, whatever. And then sometimes it's 90-10. Like life happens, but always try to, when you can control the controllables and you can control your environment, then make the most out of that stretch. So that way, when those times come, it's not it's not a catastrophe. But
Well,
I do just want to plug really quick that the Lose Your Gut Challenge, man, this is where it all got started for me. And going through that challenge, I've gone through that challenge like 4 or 5 times now. And this is where you can start to make those changes and start to implement some of the things that we're talking about here and tightening up ship a little bit and trying to find more about how you can make these healthy swaps and these healthy substitutes so that way you can still enjoy your life like we've been talking about, but moving yourself in the direction you've always wanted to go in.
so again, I'll have all the links to the Lose Your Gut Challenge down in the show notes below. So you head over to leehayward.com. It's the first post there right now. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, and it's exciting to see who's going to go through that Lose Your Gut Challenge, because I know every time we run these challenges, there's always going to be a certain percentage of people who are going to take it serious, and this is going to be a life-changing experience for them. Now,
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people, they're going to go through it and say, "Oh, that was interesting, that was neat, I learned a few things, but I got busy, I got this, I got distracted, yada yada yada," and they always go back to their old habits. But for a few people, they're going to say, "You know what? This is my moment. This is my wake up call. Right? I'm going to make a change," and they take what they learn, implement it, and it's going to be the start of literally a new page in their life, like a healthy page, if you will. Like, I'm going to turn the page, and it's going to be a life changing experience for some people, and it's always exciting to see who those people are. Right? So I
That's
don't
right.
know who it's going to be, right? But I know there are going to be some life changing transformations come about from this, and it's going to be exciting. So again, if you're interested in participating in our free 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge, just head on over to leehayward.com, and it is the first pinned post on the page where you can read about the challenge, how it works, and there's a link in there to register. The deadline to register is this Friday, because we're kicking it off on Saturday, September 28th, and I don't want you to miss out. It's time to get serious about your health and fitness goals. No more wasting time with trial and error. No more second guessing and winging your diet and workouts. No more busting your butt and killing yourself in the gym for mediocre results. You need a coach with a proven system and a track record of success. The truth is, getting in shape doesn't get any easier the older you get. So if you're still chasing the same health and fitness goals that you had last year, and you're not as lean, strong, and energetic as you want to be, then it's time to make a change now. Every day you procrastinate, you're just setting yourself back further and making it even harder to turn things around in the future. You already know this deep down. Your doctor has probably already told you that you need to lose weight and get in shape so that you can lower your blood pressure, your cholesterol, and get your blood sugar under control. You already know what you need to do, but you're still not doing it. This is why you need a coach. And this goes much deeper than just improving your numbers on a medical chart. I mean, think back to when you were a young man with big dreams and goals for the future. Did you picture yourself looking like you do now? Soft and pudgy, with a pot belly, rolls of back fat, and saggy man boobs, feeling heavy, sluggish, and dealing with aches, pains, and low energy? Did you dream of having a dad bod in your 40s? No, you didn't. And that's why you need this wake-up call to get your act together now before it's too late and the damage is irreversible. My name is Lee Hayward, and I've been a fitness and nutrition coach since 1997. I'm the creator of the Muscle After 40 Blueprint, which is the premier coaching program for men over 40 who want to lose the gut and fill out their frame with lean muscle while gaining strength, energy, and confidence. For over 27 years, I've helped thousands of hardworking men get in their best shape so that they can live life to the fullest without having their body holding them back from doing what they want to do. I've been featured in Flex Magazine, Muscle Mag, T Nation, Muscle Insider, Bodybuilding.com, and Forbes. My coaching students have included entrepreneurs, CEOs, doctors, lawyers, engineers, business owners, teachers, musicians, military soldiers, pilots, bodybuilders, powerlifters, martial artists, endurance athletes, and other high achievers just like you. And because you're here, there's a good chance that you'd like to lose 20, 30, or even 50 pounds while building lean muscle in the process. And you're not satisfied with how things are going with your health and fitness. You hate the way you look in pictures, and you're sick and tired of feeling fat, sluggish, and having low energy. Chances are you don't like the way your clothes fit, and you're debating whether you should buy larger sizes, but at the same time you're still holding on to your old clothes, hoping that someday you'll still be able to fit back into them again. And because you're here watching this, that tells me that you're not ready to throw in the towel and quit just yet. You know that with the right system, support, and accountability, you can still turn things around and improve your health and fitness for a better quality of life. You're not willing to settle for less than your best. And for that, I respect you, and I want to congratulate you for taking the first step and having the awareness that you need to make a change. And the best part is you don't have to do this alone, because even if you don't have people in your personal life who share the same health and fitness goals as you do, you can get support and accountability from other like-minded men who have gone before you and blazed the trail by achieving their own before and after transformation with the Muscle After 40 Blueprint coaching program. In fact, it's our ongoing support and accountability system that makes the biggest difference for achieving sustainable long-term results. Without this, you risk becoming another yo-yo dieting statistic, where you start off with the best of intentions for a few weeks, but then fall off the rails and regain the weight back again. I mean, you've probably already done that before, because I'm willing to bet that this isn't your first time trying to lose weight and get in shape. You've probably tried and failed multiple times in the past and are now looking for a realistic and permanent solution that works. And that's what makes the Muscle After 40 Blueprint different. It's specifically designed for working professionals and busy men over 40 who have limited time to work out and who also want to be able to enjoy eating delicious meals with their family. By joining our coaching program, you'll be surrounding yourself with other like-minded guys who are on a similar journey. You'll have the accountability, support, and motivation to stay focused on turning your ultimate fitness goals into your day-to-day reality. And this goes beyond just you. This will impact your entire quality of life and help you create a better relationship with your wife and family. Because how you show up as a man, how you show up as a father and as a husband, that determines how attractive she finds you. And if you're lean, strong, and feel confident in your own skin, she's going to start looking at you with those bedroom eyes again, and you know what that means. And this is also going to impact your children as well. By having more strength and stamina, you'll be able to keep up with your kids. You'll be the fit dad that your kids brag about, as opposed to being the overweight and out of shape dad that they're embarrassed about. Now please, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not knocking people who struggle with their weight, because it wasn't that long ago I was one of them. In my late 30s, after my son Harvey was born, I fell off track with my own health and fitness, got the dad bod, and had a gut that stuck out further than my chest. I mean, that's what led me to creating the Muscle After 40 blueprint, so I could turn my life around and be a positive role model of health and fitness for my son. I didn't want him growing up with a fat, out of shape dad and then thinking that it's okay to let himself get fat and out of shape as well. I mean, if you're a parent, then you know that kids don't listen to what you say, but they see what you do. Your actions speak louder than words. So if it's okay for dad to be overweight, then your kids are going to think that it's okay to let themselves get overweight, and the cycle continues with each generation. But you can change that starting now. So your next action step now is to head on over to leehayward.com and register for the free 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge. I'm looking forward to seeing your name come through in the entries and helping you to become one of our next before and after success stories.